Would you like my Chewbacca with a surfboard?
I actually love that. That's mega cool. Go over there. People need to sit properly. Do a bit of a catwalk. Do the joy moves. We need some joy moves. What were they? Swaying, jumping. We keep forgetting to do them.
A rose.
Yay! Where's it from? That's the next thing everyone's going to ask.
It's old and it's old and it's unavailable. They don't make them anymore.
Like you.
Yeah, it's old and unavailable.
Like me. He's 7 years younger than me.
I'm still old and unavailable. I saw a piece in the paper today with a man who was 40 saying I've shown a photo of his dad bod and then showing his new bod. I didn't know he was 40 when I looked at it and I was going, God, if I could do that. And I thought, flipping hell, I'm 12 years older, it's that much harder. Trying to get fit at our age is like running up a hill.
It was so funny. Yesterday, I was out with my sister Dina and we were with some friends. They're old friends of mine, but new friends to her. And on the way back, I said to her, wasn't it weird when she said she was 45? And Dina went, yeah, I thought that too. I said, and then when she talked about having a period, now we know lots of younger people, and she went, yeah. I said, do you sometimes get really surprised that people are younger than you? And she was like, yeah, we thought exactly the same thing, but we hadn't said it. Do you know what I mean when I say that? I mean, I'm nearly 60.
That's so weird.
If you'd
asked me when I was 28 whether I'd be
ever be married to a 60-year-old,
going to bed with a 60-year-old, I'd have said no.
So do you worry now? Do you think, oh God, I'm 7 years younger than her? She's starting to look a bit rough around the edges.
No.
Liar.
I think you need to do what Madonna's doing. Whatever Madonna's doing is working. So we're going to talk about, after we've dealt with some of the more serious things, we're going to be talking about Madonna and the attention, right or wrong, that she's getting about her evolving face. We're going to be talking about Channel 4's drama, that was on last night. It was on late. We were going to do a live review, but it was a touch too late for us.
Do you know what I think we're going to do?
Consent.
Yeah, you know what I think we're going to do? We're going to put that at the end.
Yeah.
Because I think for some people it would be enormously triggering. Yeah. So we'll put that at the end of what we're going to talk about, consent.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to talk about kisses on lips, which is something that kind of snagged my interest. I sort of had my loose woman kind of editorial on there. And it's Biden's wife, the First Lady, kissing the Vice President's husband on the lips. What do we think about kissing on the lips? Fawlty Towers could be back. That presents all sorts of politically correct headaches and shenanigans for broadcasters. And we may be, if we get time, talking about modern etiquette.
I'm sorry, but who's that just there? Rachel, where is it? It's just gone up, so where would it be on there? I know I shouldn't do this, but it really made me laugh, your comment. Is it Rachel or Refa? Rachel, is it Rachel? Go up a bit. No, it's not. It wasn't Rachel. Anyway, somebody just said when you were saying about Madonna, what's she done to herself? And the thing is, that is like the way people used to talk about it. Because human nature drives us to immediately say that. What have you done? I mean, we try and control it.
Well, I mean, I sometimes
you were like, if I'm honest, that's the first thing I say. But then, of course, I go to, right, okay, am I being misogynist? Am I being ageist? Am I being sexist?
Well, we'll get onto that. We'll get onto all of that.
But we will, but it was just so funny.
Yeah. I sometimes put those things through my Nanny Thelma filter, and she would go, is she all right, love?
Oh, what's she done to
What's she done to her face?
With no affectation, yeah.
Okay, obviously, on a serious note, I just saw someone just saying there, which is really important, Yonka Alman, thinking of Turkish and Syrians still trapped. If anyone can donate, please do. UNICEF, etc., all collecting.
Absolutely, Yonka. And yesterday we were, with the girls, we were looking through images and stuff on Instagram, and I don't know how many of you might have seen this, but it was a young girl. She was probably about 5, and her brother looked about 2 or 3, and they'd been 17 hours trapped in the building, and the rescuers were talking to them. They were talking in a gap like this. They were lying as still can be, absolutely beautiful, these huge eyes, and she was just gently stroking this little boy's head, and behind them, their parents had been crushed, and this incredible care worker was just talking to them, and just that. it's like I said to the girls, and I was so glad the girls didn't turn away from it and they wanted to talk about it and stuff. And I said, it's that when a child doesn't cry and a child, you know, she was just talking to him and the little boy, who was so little, was just staring into the distance. And it just summed up for me the absolute horror that is going on over there. And of course, I was listening this morning. And let's not forget that Syria is in such a mess anyway. And so many people in Syria are living in appalling conditions. And listening to the aid worker there today, I'm not even going to repeat some of the things he was saying, because I don't know how people are feeling about it this morning, but enough to say it was absolutely heart-wrenching. So absolutely, if you can, whatever you can donate would be incredible. We'll certainly be donating.
Yeah, Erin Bullimore makes a really important point. The coverage has been very Turkey-centric, which is a little odd. You're right. Again, I hate to say it.
It's very difficult in Syria. It's very difficult to get
No,
Syria.
but even in the headlines, it's like Turkey does take prominence. And that's not to say that, it's an equivalent thing, but it's a really interesting point, Erin, because it goes back to that very low level prioritizing of certain
And the
countries.
West's culpability within what's happening to the Syrians.
Exactly.
So you're right, it is, and it's like not one life is more important than another. I mean, it takes us back, doesn't it, to why Syrians haven't been invited into people's homes in the way that Ukrainians have, and all of that, and so much suffering, and here we are again, the terrible imbalance of the world, and meanwhile innocent people are just I mean, so many of the people in Turkey, they're saying, whose houses and apartments are still standing, are outside in the cold because they're too scared to go in. So the trauma, and they're still feeling the shakes the whole time.
Yeah.
And you know what? Again, those aid workers out there, what extraordinary people. Aren't they?
Well, and also the things they encounter are quite fun. And as I say, a friend of mine did a film about the sniffer dogs that go out there. Remarkable animals that save lives, but also
Brave animals,
obviously stumble across the most appalling situations too. They are talking about the death toll reaching something like potentially 20,000. The other story, obviously, in the press, and it's going to stay in the press, isn't it, is the Nicola Bulley story. Where I was listening, I think you were listening to the same programme this morning, about a guy who they call or dub the human mole. And this guy is Peter Fawlty. And he essentially, as a private... he's a private sort of, he kind of explores and he tries to solve and he looks for evidence in these sort of, investigations. He's been doing it for 25 years. He's chief executive of a group called the Specialist Group International. And he served for 6 years in the parachute regiment. So he's a specialist in tunneling. And he was talking this morning about how, although he's going to continue to do one last scan, isn't he, of parts of the river, he said huge parts of the river are incredibly shallow. And it just seems that so many expert opinions and experts are totally flummoxed by this.
It was a really, really good interview. We were saying, weren't we? He was obviously a man who's hugely experienced. There was no ego. He was a humble, straight-talking man. And quite rightly, Nick Ferrari was pushing him because there's a lot of discussion around where the failures could have been so far. And he was very mindful of the police and not wanting to... But pushed. When he was pushed, he did say he found it, as I think he said, very surprising, but you could read what he really meant, that there was no cordoned off area, there was no white tent,
This is what I was going to, about there being some discontent about the forensic situation at the beginning.
And pushed again, he said, you don't think she went into the river, do you? And he said, with all my experience over all the years of recovering, I do not. And he's just, looking at the tides and everything, he said she just couldn't have gone out to sea. This final dredge, he's saying, if she's there, definitive. They will find her. Yeah.
The weird thing is that, the only thing I can think of is that perhaps, a couple of things. There was a story today saying that her last texts have been revealed, or some of her last texts. She did text a few days ago, apparently, saying she'd done this walk thousands of times. She did text, not that there's necessarily anything sinister in this, but she did text saying, going for a walk, it's a bit creepy or it's a bit eerie walking around here. But, and presumably, I mean, the reason I think that's significant is we're all struggling to kind of picture the kind of location, and I think it gives you a sense of, I keep hearing there are sort of derelict buildings and there are sort of empty buildings and boarded up old houses and all that sort of stuff, maybe old mansion houses, I don't know. And I suppose in a sense that does paint a sort of slightly more sinister scene, but then I was thinking, what if she's just left? I mean, but that said, she'd also texted someone about a meetup, hadn't she? There was she was going to hook up with friends.
And and I don't know who it was on here yesterday said the
happened,
dog would
guys?
have gone in because the dog could swim, and and it was one of you guys said that, and I thought, oh God, I hadn't thought of that. And the fact that the dog was running back and forth from the bench to the gate, I think is leaving people with a lot of questions. Did she go out of the gate?
The dog was frantic, they said, when they got there.
Yeah, running back and forth from the bench to the gate. Now, as Maddie said straight away, that dog would have been crying at the side of the river. Any dog owners, we know that, don't we? I mean, Toffee would have been in a second.
Well, should have been, yeah, should have.
So,
she'd have gone in
but
and smiled to death.
meanwhile, the poor family and friends of hers, and the husband made a statement yesterday. The two little girls are missing their mum desperately. I mean, God, what are they even saying to their girls?
Well, like you said, he just can't tell them that she's missing for another night. You know what I mean?
He's not told them.
Gates have CCTV, says MT2. I mean, they say
all gates, not all gates.
I don't think all gates. I mean, they have 500 bits of evidence or lines of inquiry.
Well, that was the other thing that he said he thought was very strange.
What?
That the police had almost just said she's in the river.
Yeah.
And he said other lines need to be investigated. But the thing is now, there is such interest in this. The police are going to have to do the detail of everything, aren't they? So.
Yeah, Amy May, but would you leave your dog if you were going to run away? Wouldn't you just leave the dog at home with your family? It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling.
So, the thing is, has she run away? Has she been snatched? Has she been kidnapped? We'll just never know. Well, we won't know until they find her. Please, God, let them find her.
So anyway, obviously those are all in the news today. Just a quick note, so you don't think we haven't seen. Zoe, it's your birthday today. We'll sing happy birthday later, Zoe Agnew.
Zoe, really close to your sister Sarah's birthday.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Happy birthday, honey.
And Tynes, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, or Tyne, it's your 18th birthday, so
we will sing you happy birthday. How old are you, Zoe?
She might not want to say.
Oh, come on.
I saw a policeman, did I say I saw a policeman yesterday, looked about 10. I mean, literally looked a little bit older than Kiki. It was petrifying. Okay, so what shall we deal with first? Why don't we deal with Jill Biden's... Jill Biden, obviously Joe Biden's wife at his State of the Union address. I think, I didn't watch it, but I hear that Joe Biden was pretty coherent in the whole thing. And was calling for unity with the Republicans. But then there was a moment which, of course, Donald Trump, the Republicans have seized upon, the moment that Jill Biden kisses Kamala, is it Kamala Harris? Sorry, I've forgotten her surname. She's so not been in the public eye for so long.
I don't know who she is.
Who is she? That she kisses the vice president's husband, and she kisses him on the lips.
Now,
what
some
do you
people
think
just
of
do
that?
this. Does anybody routinely kiss?
Yeah.
Because we do the French kiss whenever we meet anybody, don't we? We kiss people on either cheek.
Tongues?
No, either
French kissing is tongues.
French greeting. The French greeting of kiss. It's very showbiz, everybody does it. But yeah, kissing on the lips. Now, I know somebody that's absolutely the loveliest person, and there's nothing creepy at all about him. But he does kiss everybody on the lips, just a quick little kiss on the lips. But I find it really strange. Do you?
I find it disgusting. If I'm honest. I find it disgusting, totally inappropriate, quite aggressive, and totally presumptuous. I don't think there's any I don't often have there's zero grey area for me on this.
Some people, it's like...
No.
Yeah. I just find it odd. And I find
Hayley Lilly, very sweet of you.
I find that it's very, I think it's just a case-by-case situation. So, like in showbiz, people do it a lot more.
On the lips?
Yeah, but it's not...
It's too personal.
I wouldn't do it, And I can think of a number of people that I know that do it. And they're really nice people and there's nothing,
And
and
do
it's
they do
fine.
it to you?
Yeah, just to everyone. Kiss, kiss,
How do you
kiss.
feel when they do it?
It's odd. It's odd because it's just not what I do. So it's odd. But I think in a public place like this, when you are the first lady, to kiss somebody else on the lips is weird.
If I'm honest, it's often we talk about this often about paparazzi and snappers when they get a moment, a clinch, or a sort of entanglement, or a moment where someone kisses someone on the cheek, and they can present that photograph as if they're kissing in a certain way. I mean, part of me wondered when I looked at this photo whether it was one of those. I mean, there's a difference. I mean, I'm going to go in for the kiss. You go that way, and I'm going to go that way. But I go, oh, sorry. There's a a mistaken
Oh, a
kiss.
mistake one.
A mistaken kiss.
Cold sores. Siobhan Jordan's just said cold sores.
Siobhan Jordan, that's just dealt with it in such a simple way. But I mean, when I go online, looking at the image,
be sick in my mouth, says Laurel.
It's a proper soft lipped
Well,
kiss.
no, don't say that because we know how that could have been so brief. You know that. Come on, Mark. And the tricks of the camera.
I just said that. Donald Trump's former advisor said, wow, COVID really is over.
Well, yeah, they were so masked up, weren't they? He was wearing 3 masks.
Yeah,
wasn't
absolutely. They're calling it, in America, they're calling it Smooch of the Union rather than Speech of Spurs.
Does anybody here do it and just think, yeah, that's what I've done, or my family do it? Because it is.
Well, I've done a poll.
Normal.
Look, is kissing someone you're not involved with on the lips okay? 87% say no.
13% say yes. Some people do it.
I think it's really invasive, and I think it's really presumptuous. I suppose the only way you could justify it is if you come from a family and a background or a world where it's always been very normal. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't kiss. I mean, would you kiss anyone but your partner and your family on the lips? I wouldn't kiss my daughters on the lips. I wouldn't kiss my nan.
I'd love to
I wouldn't kiss
my
my mum on the lips.
But it gets to a point where you don't do that.
But that's an interesting question. As a dad, I never have on the lips.
When they were little, they did. You did.
Yeah, when they were a baby. When they were a baby.
Yeah.
But dads, I always nuzzled into their necks and
No, it got
tickled
to
them.
a point, fairly early. That didn't, mind you, I do not. I think it's lovely when people do. I don't have a problem with it. Like when David Beckham kisses his daughter on the lips and everyone goes mad. I don't think. I hate that people always assume that that's something mucky, because it's not. Just people have different ways of affection. I pick up on what my daughters are happy with or not. Like, you just know that there's a point where they don't want you to come in the bathroom anymore. And so I never go in the bathroom without knocking on the door.
No, I don't go to their rooms.
And there's never been a discussion. I just felt it. It's got to that. Or they might have got, Mum, when I've come in, and that's it. So that's their space. But if I'd never felt, because there's always that period of time with the teenagers where they just don't want you to touch them at all. And then you have to push through that bit. Like, girls were definitely like that. And I'll just hug them anyway. But
a few comments here. Nora Doyle, a close friend, does it, and I pulled him up on it.
Did you?
Patty Degnan. I have a friend in her 70s. I do think there's a generational thing here, who always kisses me on the lips.
Yeah.
I always feel uncomfortable, but she is just being loving.
Yeah, when somebody, it's just the way some people communicate.
Yeah,
and
my nan
I don't
didn't.
have a
My
problem with it.
nan would slosh you rather than kiss you on the lips. Den James, many grannies did it to everyone in my childhood.
Yeah.
Tracy A, it's personal. Even women of the night don't kiss on the Blimey. Got the
Women of the night.
Women of the night don't kiss on the lips, apparently. It's incredibly personal. You're right. I mean, I've actually seen films in which, you have seen women of the night or whatever, and it's quite a sort of almost cliched line, is it? No, that's too intimate to kiss. For some people, kissing is more intimate than the functional
I know people
act
that
of
have sex but never kiss their husbands.
That's curious. I wonder why that is.
Because I think it's very, very intimate.
Well, that's why I think it's fucking bizarre when people come trotting over towards you with their lips puckering when they're not in a relationship. No, on the lips.
Yeah, but it's a peck on the lips.
It's
It's
not
not like having a proper full-on French kiss.
Well, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. I think
Anyway.
it's bizarre. Anyway. Okay, well, there
Madonna.
you go. Okay, right, guys. What do we think of Madonna? The question is, I suppose, in a weird way, the reason I pulled this
What do we
story
think of
this morning,
Madonna's comments, I think?
should we feel anything about Madonna? Because Madonna is obviously in the press an awful lot, with lots of people commenting on the 64-year-old singer's face, the apparent change in the shape, look,
Speculation that
and
she's
face.
had a facelift, bum implants, all sorts of things.
But she herself has said she doesn't want to answer questions. She finds it invasive, and I'm certainly not against plastic surgery. She said in 2012. However, I am absolutely against having to discuss it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Let me just finally posit the question. For someone who's been in the public eye for so long, for someone who's essentially traded on her sexuality, her looks, her face, I fell in love with her with my Like a Virgin album. Sensational. So when you look at her, you can't help but notice something if it's changing. It's not about whether she can or not. I think she has every right to do whatever she wants to her face. But what do you think of it? Is it all right to comment on her?
I think, can you get the... I think if you are in the public eye and a lot of that has been image-based, she is incredibly creative and always has been with her looks. And we look to Madonna to see what her looks are.
Yeah.
This phase of her life is a brand new look, okay?
Right.
And I think that for her to imagine that people aren't going to comment on it is naive in the extreme. Now, what she said, have you got the comment? I think it might be near up at the top. She said, maybe further up. It's not there. So basically, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, she said that she was disgusted that people were commenting on her looks and missing the essence of what she was saying, the beautiful thing that she was saying. And obviously she's very hurt, and she said, oh my God, that lens, anybody could have looked whatever. She was, she's furious, basically.
Oh, here we go. Look, in
And
2019, about her, they've suggested she's had bum implants. She said, I'm desperately seeking no one's approval and entitled to free agency over my body like everyone else.
Absolutely. And you know what? I 100% agree with her. But everybody's always commented on the way that she looks. And I think to imagine that people aren't going to imagine at this stage of her life isn't necessarily misogyny, ageism and sexism. Isn't necessarily. And this is the vibe that she's having. Now, we are very tough on women as they get older. There is nobody tougher than me in my head. And I hate my inner ageism. Like, I'll say, oh God, I shouldn't be wearing that. And God, am I mutton? Literally the voice goes like that. And I try and shut it up. Shut the fuck up. But it's just in there. So yes, there's always going to be a sprinkling. But I mean, what I'm seeing here, loads and loads of comments, is she doesn't look good. We don't like the way she looks. And we do, as human beings, pass comment on the way other people look, whether we like it or not.
Okay, well, here's a question.
Like when in her other look, so say like the album that you talked about, Virgin, that look was so strong, it was so striking, it was so... And the look she has now is very strong and very striking, it's very different. So commenting on that was okay for her, but commenting on this stage isn't okay for her. And I wonder if that's some of her own inner ageism as well, because she's just got an amazingly striking look.
But here's the thing. I mean, I've never understood the plastic surgery thing. I mean, I've never understood it. And it's got, I mean, obviously it's tied up with a getting old, a resistance and desire not to get old, a wanting to look...
Not necessarily.
Well,
might not be.
why-
It might not
why
not
else
wanting
would
to
you-
look old. It might be not wanting to get old. It might be she's an image-based artist.
Yeah,
And
I know,
her
but
image is incredibly important to her. And I think, the amount of discipline that she's had over the years with her diet, with her exercise, and, that body is a very hard-working body. She's probably working out 4 or 5 hours a day.
No, she's incredibly...
to get that.
She's incredibly fit. But I mean, I suppose what I'm trying to say is that to have a reaction to it isn't always a negative thing. To comment
A
on
response.
it or to be even shocked by it
Yeah.
not necessarily negative. Because when I
Yeah.
see her pop up, I'm alarmed. And the alarm isn't one of, judgment, but it's like, it symbolises for me that someone just said quite politely, something's up for her in her life. Now, is that in itself misogynistic? Is that in itself
I don't
judgy?
know. Is it misogynistic? Because I can think of another person in the public eye who's a man, And he's having all sorts of things done to him. And I'm thinking, what has he done to it? I'm thinking that. Is that ageism? Is that...
Right.
Or is that...
I can think of a
if
few
somebody
men.
suddenly, shaved their head and...
Yeah,
did
we said the
private-
same about Michael Jackson, says Ellery Jones.
Yeah.
Interestingly about Michael Jackson, there's a biopic being made, by the way, would it have been a cancelling issue if it was to be said now? I don't think we'd be so free and easy about commenting on Michael Jackson now, do you?
On his plastic surgery.
Yeah,
I think it was brutal the way people were, but, about his plastic surgery. I'm just conflicted. I'm really conflicted. When I look at her, like a lot of you say, I think I'd have liked to have seen her face. She's such a beautiful woman with such amazing bone structure and everything. But then, what has it got to do with me?
Well, because she's in
Nothing.
the pub, because she's, I don't know, because she's...
But like you say, we're going to have a response.
Yeah, you can't help it.
Because she is a massive star.
Yeah.
And because she's made a comment on the way that she's been commented on, I think it's interesting because it did make me say, when I look at it and I think, I preferred your face before you did whatever you did to it, am I being ageist? Or am I just, is it just purely a, what's the word? Look, thingy, the way something looks. What's the word?
I don't know.
What's the word? The way something looks.
Appearance?
No, but anyway, is it purely, my preferences on that? I don't think it's ageist.
Okay, well, I asked, is commenting on Madonna's looks misogynistic? And a third of you say yes, interestingly, and 2/3 of you say no. Interesting. I mean, it is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? What looks good and what doesn't look good. And presumably she really thinks she looks good.
Yeah, and the thing is, she's got the right to do whatever the hell she wants.
Just a quick one, because there's not much to be said about this, other than who here is a fan, or were you a fan of Fawlty Towers? And given that John Cleese and Rob Reiner, interestingly, it's Rob Reiner's company. Rob Reiner, he of This Is Spinal Tap, directed When Harry Met Sally. He's an incredibly funny and incredibly competent director. His company, I think it's Castle Rock Entertainment, are working with John Cleese and John Cleese's daughter to create a 2-part special Fawlty Towers. I've drilled into it. I can't quite see which broadcaster's picking this up. But Fawlty Towers, were you a fan of it?
Oh my God, I watched it so many times. You know, there's only ever 6 episodes of it.
I think, was it 7? Splitting hairs here, but yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. I could howl with laughter every time I watched it. I said to Mark, though, I bet if we watched it now, there'd be like 500 things in one episode that would go, oh gosh, could they get cancelled?
Well,
could they get cancelled? So
I think in cancel culture,
is
you'd
what
be in all
I
sorts of trouble.
hope for it, right? Obviously,
Do you think it should come
racism
back?
in any way, no way. Whatever would be deemed racist has to be cut out. You can't go there, and that's quite right. But some of the pushing the boundaries, I think I would like to see. Like, sometimes we're just so over careful with comedy these days, and that frightens me because I think comedy is a very important outlet for people. So I'm hoping it pushes the boundaries a bit.
I mean,
but staying within, obviously, nothing racist.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, I separate to the whole kind of political correctness and all that kind of stuff, I never like going back to these things. I don't think it ever works. You know, it was of its time.
and we should never be made to feel guilty about things that at that time were okay to enjoy.
No.
Let's
But I also think its impact was of its time, not in
Yeah.
terms of politics either. But in terms, I mean, I have to confess, it was hysterically funny. And I remember as a child, I was always drawn to Eric Morecambe. I was always drawn to anarchic kind of stuff. And I remember every time it was on, absolutely loving it. You know, it stopped because John Cleese fell out with the BBC over, I think, one of the episodes. I can't remember what
Remember when
the
he beat
nature
up
of it
the
was.
Mini with
He
this-
beat up the
I
Mini,
love that
and the
scene.
most infamous episode, which now kind of makes people's toes curl, is the "Don't Mention the War" one. I can't remember its attitude to women, but I can't believe it would have been particularly progressive.
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will.
Do you think
work.
it could survive? I've just asked, look, I'll split down the middle. I've asked, can Fawlty Towers come back in cancel culture? Half of you say yes, half of you say no. The East End boy, hello, not seen you comment before, with the snowflakes and wet wipes around, no old comedy can do what they used to, which is annoying. Old comedy was better, and people can't appreciate that and want to cancel it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they manage it, because you know what? This change in the way that we are is an important change. But out of it, how are we going to come through? And what, because people have to think, you know, there's lots of extremely brilliant writers out there, bright people, great comedians. So in the new landscape, what are you going to do? Come on, make us laugh.
Well, the other thing to say is that John Cleese was absolutely brilliant in his day. I'm not entirely sure. You know, he's kind of launched a very public attack on wokeness. Who was it who said it? Good chip lollipop, the more offensive to everyone, the better. If this was in really capable, nuanced hands, I think we could really do with a clever comedy that sends up political correctness or challenges it or looks at the parts of it where it possibly loses control or just asks questions about it and where we're at and cancel. I think there's room for something like that because we need to be challenging everything, don't we?
Yeah.
You can't be too afraid to hit certain topics. So, but looking at that, I think only half of you think it can work and only half of you, just over half of you think it can't work. Okay, well, let's quickly get onto this because we want to do this.
We'll do etiquette with
We'll do etiquette another day. Consent. Did anyone see the drama on Channel 4 last night, 10 o'clock, called Consent? How would you describe what it was about, Nads? It was a story set within a private school in which toxic masculinity amongst boys leads to pressure on a nice boy. I mean, and I thought that's what was clever about the drama.
Well, it was very good. It kept it ambiguous.
Yeah. And this nice boy partakes in something that is, sexual assault. And it then becomes a sort of trying to the school and the institutions try to unpack whether he did it, how he did it. And it's how he either gets away, I don't want to ruin it for you, it's how he either gets away with it or doesn't get away with it and the impact on the girl. So it's all about that stuff, isn't it? Toxic masculinity in schools and sexual assault.
Privilege of the rich. But as I said to Mark at the end of it, and also the woeful underprivilege of the rich. Because I found these extremely wealthy children in this very expensive private school to be, I would hate to be like that. I would hate to have that life where you've got this enormous pressure to be the very best, where everything is fixed for you so that you don't have to follow the rules in the way that everybody else does. Horrible life. Actually, a horrible life.
But if I'm honest, one of my biggest criticisms of this drama was its private school setting, if I'm honest. Because I felt that will allow lots and lots of viewers to slightly distance themselves from the idea that this is something twisted. Whereas I think what's really important is that this is happening in schools across the nation. And I thought it was a curious decision.
It was really clever, I thought. And,
I thought it was really
And
clever.
What's so sad is that our girls and their friends who were WhatsApping in and out said, there's just loads of boys like this. They just weren't the least bit shocked.
So it's the idea. It's the idea of proving your, making yourself belong to. What was it? Slags and hashtag slags and stuff or sluts and stuff was the WhatsApp group. I thought it was incredible. Elliot Gonzalez. I want to go to iTalk Telly on Instagram, of course. I thought Consent was such a hard-hitting watch. And the next line, I totally agree, should be shown in schools. The way the WhatsApp messages were portrayed was very effective. And what they did with the WhatsApp messages, which is, I'm looking at this in a project where how do you use messages on screen in an inventive way? They had messages on screen and then they brought the boys in. They weren't literally in the room, but they brought the boys in as if they were physically there. And they were almost like a chorus, weren't they? So
he'd pick up his phone and then the boys would be there. You're actually seeing and hearing them speak. So you're seeing... It was very disturbing, very triggering possibly for people, so be careful with it. But the fact that our daughters say, well, there's just loads and loads of boys like that, that's just like the norm.
And so the pressure on this boy was to film him doing something, because without film or footage, there's not proof, and without proof, he can't belong to the male group. And I thought the actors in it were sensational. David Tennant's son was in there, but the main boy was amazing because I was getting sort of Paul Mescal vibes from him. I don't know if you were.
He was incredible.
He was incredible, but he
and the young girl.
And he was in a weird way. It was like a private school English version of some of the topics that come up in Euphoria. And I thought it was a very clever film about the tragedy of pressure on boys. And I thought that was down to his performance and the writing around his performance.
Gone into a review now. Is this what we're doing?
Well, we're going to do it. And also, I thought was was incredibly tragic. Watching the falling apart of the girl, which was just.
So we're going to do a review of this. We just wanted to touch
Yeah.
on it here. And if you fancy watching a review, that will go up later today, because we think it was a really important, excellent piece of TV. And you know us, we love to support excellent drama. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, birthdays.
Birthdays. Well, Zoe.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zoe Agnew. Happy birthday to you.
Have a large one. Tynes, I think it's Tynes or Tyne. 18th birthday, a biggie.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Tynes or Tyne.
Happy birthday to you.
A welcome back to Marcia Toms to the members area.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, Marcia.
Toms,
Marcia Toms.
And Angie Bayliss's birthday was on the 31st, and she didn't get a sing song.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Angie. Happy birthday to you.
And Nora Doyle.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nora. Happy birthday to you. Squash tomatoes and stew. Not poo. Stew.
How to Stay Married is landing tonight. It's pegged to a really fascinating paragraph about marriage in an interview with Sarah Lancashire from Happy Valley. It really snagged Nadia's interest, and off the back of this quite complex, thoughtful, revolutionary paragraph about marriage, we thought we'd do How to Stay Married. So that's
and
landing
we thought
tonight.
it would be good because everyone's so fascinated by Sarah Lancashire, and we never really hear anything about her. So it's quite, Anyway, that's
And
coming
as we
later.
say, there'll be a review of Consent. Otherwise, have a lovely day.